down. Hi, my name is Nikki. In case I remind you to.
Oh, how do you do your start show? Did you have it in full screen mode?
Yeah.
Okay.
The most interesting thing so far is someone actually has a Surface tablet in the wild.
We have a Surface tablet and Windows Phone.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And actually, Jeremy just got the new Windows 8 yesterday, so it's kind of cool. I'm a fan, which is so taboo in the design world, not to be a Mac lover. Can we just start at? Yeah, some people will be going in and out. What did you just do?
I did Facebook.
Oh, okay. I was on the podcast, so I didn't do a session. I had to sit up for it. I don't know if I said I could see anything.
I can't hear anything if I sit in the back.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I need a microphone down there.
Oh, you mean they didn't have a stage one?
No.
It used to be in the classroom as well as
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, I expected them to be really good, but the room is small enough that I figured I was like, normally when I read those, I actually listen.
Right.
No matter what you
I think it's like 5
just to be clear.
Yeah.
We could. Maybe the speaker just turned on.
Maybe.
Hi, I'm Niki. How's everybody enjoying the day so far? Good stuff? So I don't usually do public speaking, so I'm a little nervous, and I apologize. I have notes. I was telling some folks earlier, I actually have "Hi, I'm Niki Blaker" written down. And just a quick overview, because I know that everyone is free to walk around. The first 10-15 minutes of the presentation is if you're completely unfamiliar with Pinterest and just want to know what it works, and then it's kind of the second half that goes into how to use it for your branding. So if you want to time it out that way. So hi, I'm Niki. This was working. There you go. I am a design strategist at 40 during the day. I get to work with an amazing team of other designers in Chandler. So I love my day job. I get to do some pretty amazing things. And then when I'm not at 40, I'm a volunteer. I'm on the board of AIGA Arizona. That's the Association for Design. So we put on a lot of design events throughout the valley. So between those things, that keeps me pretty busy during the months. But I do have some free time, and during that time, I am on Pinterest. And usually I pin things that inspire me, things that will help me with my design flow, things that help me figure out what I want in my dream house, and pretty much anything else design related. And my understanding of Pinterest being a powerful and useful tool for branding didn't come to me until after the fact. It's actually kind of backwards. Sorry, I'm so nervous, I can't breathe. So the reason I started using Pinterest, I am a sign-up-aholic. If there's a new service or an organization tool that's online or anything, I will request an invite. I will absolutely sign up for it. So I just did that like I do everything else. But I noticed that my inbox started filling up with the notification requests, and I started getting more and more followers, and I didn't know what the heck was happening. So it turns out I got picked up by a few blogs. People liked what I was pinning, and so I was starting to appear on these lists of top 40 designers to follow on Pinterest. And actually I was really excited. I got featured on the Huffington Post as one of the designers to follow. So it became, according to my Google Analytics, the second most popular resource traffic of people coming to my site. And the only reason it was second is I happen to be a blogger on Armin Witt's Under Consideration, which, if you're familiar with him as a designer, it's a pretty big blog. So if I wasn't fortunate to be on that blog, Pinterest would be the first thing driving people to my site. So that's actually when I started thinking about that this could actually be a useful tool, and what is it all about, because it actually started affecting how people were coming to my site. So I pretty much broke it down into these 3 questions once I started thinking about it and started doing some research. What is Pinterest? Who's using it and how can it work for me? So I hope at the end of this you have a better understanding of what Pinterest is all about and whether you feel it's worth the effort of making it work for you and for your brand. And ultimately, if it's not for your business, it's still really cool to use for your personal use. So actually I have some creative ideas of how to do that. So Pinterest was founded in March of 2010 by Ben Silverman, he was the idea guy, and Evan Sharp. He was the co-partner and the designer. So Ben Silverman had a great quote that said, "As a kid, I loved collecting. I collected everything from insects to stamps to books. I've always thought that the things you collect, whether it's the furniture in your home or the music in your iPod, says a lot about who you are. I thought it would be great to bring that entire experience online and help connect with people that have common interests." And then Evan Sharp, who actually designed the layout, said, "I was always collecting images on the web and folders on the desktop of my computer, and it wasn't a very good system for remembering what I was collecting. So we wanted to create a place where you can upload and collect things in the web and simply organize it the way you want to." So this resulted in the creation of a visual pin board. So Pinterest is a visual pin board that allows you to organize and share things you find on the web. You can browse pin boards created by other people to discover new things and get inspiration for people who share your interests. Still, what the heck does that mean? Well, if you're like me, I used to cut out pictures of like Molly Ringwald because I wanted to be just like her, or you cut out clippings from magazines about outfits that you liked or recipes that you wanted to keep. You put them all in a big binder, and then you're like searching through the binder. And it's pretty much a digital way to do this. I have an example here, a friend of mine who used to live here, Lonnie. So he pinned this outfit, and he pretty much said, "Need these shoes." So he thought it was, something worth keeping. He had the individual pin onto a board called My Style. So he's been collecting all the clothing things that he's been interested in into a board that's organized by those things. Now, if I were to click on My Style, I see his entire collection of things that he likes that pertain to his clothing choices. Following people on Pinterest is very similar to Twitter and Facebook. They don't have to be following you back for you to follow them. So let's say Melissa pinned some things that I really like. I can choose to follow her. I don't have to follow all of her boards. Instead, I can choose to follow like just her design board or some of the other ones. So if she has a recipe one and I'm not really into cooking, I'm not obligated to follow that one. Pinterest also links up to your Facebook account and your email. So if you have friends on those accounts that are also on Pinterest, you can follow them that way and they have some recommendations. So this is how Pinterest starts to get social. So I'm following Melissa. I love her stuff. And this is one of her individual pins. When I click on the pin, I have the option to repin it. And I can repin it onto my board. So she had it in a design board, and then I'm going to put it into my board that has inspiring illustrations. Then I pin it, and at the same time, I can also post to Facebook and Twitter that I am pinning her board. Let's see. So repinning an image pinned by someone just basically broadcasts it, and that's actually how it becomes quite a bit viral. There are additional ways to pin things. So the way I had done that was by going onto Pinterest and selecting her board and repinning it. But you don't have to repin from another follower. There's a Chrome bookmarklet if you use Chrome as your browser. So it's kind of upping your taskbar. So if you're on any site and you see an image that you like, you basically just click on the little bookmarklet and it brings up a whole image of photos that you can select from that page. And then you can just select the image, put your little comment in, and post it. A lot of blog posts have a little pin this button next to it, and we're going to go into that being important to have on your site. If you can upload a pin directly to Pinboard from your computer, which that's not recommended, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Or you can manually enter the URL of an image. I think by now the nerves be getting down. Sorry. So this is what happens after you've repinned an image. I have these alpacas here. I think they're so cute. So you can see how many times this image has been repinned. It's 479, and then from its archive, an additional 459 pins. So these alpacas have been repinned like 900 times. I guess I'm not the only one. And you can see who originally put this alpaca image up, and you can see the source file. So that's really where the magic comes in, that no matter how many times it's been repinned by other people, it always follows the trail back to the source. And that's
I
kind of the
thought
magic.
I thought it was 479, showed 10 of them, and then there's an additional.
Oh,
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
that is correct. So now also, after you see this little screen, if I were to click on that picture again, that's when it takes me back to the source of where the image originally came from. So I clicked on the cute image of alpacas, and I'm taken back to the whole site of eco-friendly, super soft, hyperallergenic choice for alpacas. And it's kind of funny because if you look at the social media statistics, you've got 32 likes, 0 tweets, but then you have 4,000 pins for this image. So in this case, it ended up being the image that brought people to the content and not the content itself. And that's, again, where the fact that Pinterest being so viral is important. Of all the content, 80% of pins are repins, so 20% is original content. And you compare that to Twitter. So of people who retweet things, that's only 1.4%. So that's a pretty big difference. And then what continues to set Pinterest further apart is that it's simply beautiful. I did a search for the word red, and that's what I came up with. So it's hard not to browse Pinterest and just be bombarded with beautiful pictures, and you just get sucked into it because you're looking at everything. So whether it's incredible photography or food, you just get lost looking at other people's pins. It's just a really beautiful place to be. Furthermore, the design choices that Silverman and Sharp made have kind of revolutionized a whole way of browsing. These are like other sites that follow the same style of Pinterest, and if you do a a search for like a WordPress theme, Pinterest style, there's so many of them now, and they kind of started that whole look. They're one of the first sites that allow for excessive scrolling that isn't overwhelming, and you don't see any of the options to repin or comment until your mouse is over the picture. So you're not bombarded with all these buttons and everything. It's really streamlined and clean. Also, like we talked about before, you have access through your Chrome browser plugin. So you don't have to be on the site. You can pin from anytime, anywhere. It's always there, no matter what you're doing. So it's just an extremely effective site that people naturally respond to. Pinterest is also portable. They've been really responsive about having apps. They support iPhone, iPad, and Android tablets. And they've really been listening to people as far as what their needs are for what they're looking for in a portable way. So that's been a little better. I'm sorry?
No Windows Phone?
No Windows Phone. No, not yet, anyway. And actually, I was having a discussion earlier about Instagram. So it's a lot more accessible because Instagram, you can't access it from your desktop very easily. I mean, you can see the photo that you're directly linked to, but you can't really explore on your desktop. And I think the difference is Pinterest has been a little bit more responsive in making it accessible to everybody. And in addition to the portable, there are some magazine publishing forums. Like there's this one called Maz Digital. They're the ones that produce Ink magazine online, and they've integrated Pinterest into their actual magazine browsing process with this technology. Like you can take your fingers and just make a clipping of whatever you're reading on your iPad and automatically put it to Pinterest. So that's kind of cool. I think you're going to see more and more of that. So basically, you put all those things together. So we already have a natural tendency to be social, and we're already familiar with some of these other social media trends. But now you can do it from anywhere. It's beautiful, it's portable, and it becomes a little deeper than just a collection board or having that binder, because now you're kind of showing off to the world. These are the beautiful things that make me who I am or who I want to be. And the way this differs a little bit from Facebook and Twitter, Facebook has always been about your personal status, who you're dating, or baby pictures, or vacation pictures. And Twitter is more about what you're doing, like I'm at this restaurant, check out this picture of my food. And Pinterest is more about what you love and what you are inspired by. And depending on the perspective of the other person looking at you, they can take you out of the picture. It's not about, oh, Niki loves this recipe, so I'm gonna like it too. It's, this is a really cool recipe, and I'm gonna use it for myself. So you almost take the personal element out of it, and it's less invasive. And it's less self-centered, I think, in a way, because you're just sharing things you love. So who's using Pinterest? And we get into some statistics too here. Right now, Pinterest is the third most popular social media network. It is the first independent site to hit the 10 million mark, and they did that very quickly. Between January 2012 and May, there was an increase of 145% in unique users. And that all happened while Pinterest was still invite only. So that's pretty substantial. I was just checking the latest numbers of their analytics this past August. So according to Compete.com, they have over 25 million unique users. Last month, Fast Company released this awesome infographic. And actually my last slide has all the sources that I got everything from and all the links, so you can check this full infographic out. So of these 12 million people, the demographic is kind of fun because in the past, men have been the ones that are the early adopters of technology. But you see here you have 79% female users. That's kind of been a first across social media. Also, the age demographic is 25 to 54. And that's the first time that an age demographic has been as old as it is, so this is attracting an older set of people. So it's a wider demographic than we've seen in social media before. Also, the engagement is much higher. The average person on Pinterest spends 16 minutes per visit. That's 3 times more than people spend on Facebook and Twitter. So people are getting on Pinterest and they're staying on Pinterest.
Do you know what the women to men ratio is?
Well, we have 21% male and 79% female. So right now, and that's United States statistics. I actually don't have it here, but I was looking at the UK. UK actually has more men, and they're using it for different purposes. They actually use it a lot more for marketing, and in the US, a lot more people use it for personal reasons. So it's kind of interesting to see that change between the UK and the US. So as I mentioned before, 80% of the content on there is repinned. So you have some trends and categories. These are the top 5 categories that are browsed. So, and I guess it's not too surprising because of the demographic. So you have home and garden, clothing and apparel, art and design, food and gifts, and health and beauty. And this actually does translate to something that's marketable, because if you look at the top categories of things purchased through Pinterest: clothing and apparel, handbags and accessories, art and design, home and garden, and health and beauty. And actually there's some really good statistics about purchasing there too. So I have more statistics, and especially comparing these numbers to some stuff that happens on Facebook. When comparing these behaviors on Facebook, more people use Pinterest as a way to determine what they're going to shop and a shopping destination. So 69% of online users who visit Pinterest have found an item they wanted to purchase and purchase it later, and that compares to only 40% on Facebook. Pinterest is also a stronger vehicle for brand association. 43% of Pinterest users associate with familiar brands on there, so they're more likely to follow a brand on Pinterest than they are on Facebook. And a greater percentage of Pinterest users engage with the retailers as opposed to the people on Facebook that follow a brand just to get like a coupon out of it. So the biggest difference is when people are following a brand on Pinterest, they're taking the time to like repin their products or look at their boards and engage with the retailer, whereas on Facebook you kind of like the page and then don't think about it again. And I mean, think about it. How many times have you liked a brand and you actively go back to the brand page to see what they're offering? So that's one advantage that Pinterest has had over the other folks. So here's another great infographic. So you can define Pinterest as a way for people to window shop for anything that interests them. It's a social shopping experience. So it's like window shopping, and it's disguised as a website full of interests. So ultimately, the things we're pinning are things that we want. There was a survey conducted by Vision Critical and Emily Carr's Social Interactive Media Center, so that's where this comes from. And it says that 12% of Pinterest users have pinned something they later purchased online, and 16% of the items were things that they purchased offline. And according to across the web, the average sale resulted in a Pinterest user following an image back to its source, and they spend an average of $180. That's compared to $80 for Facebook and $70 for Pinterest use. So if you actually have a dollar comparison, people who are finding the source through Pinterest are spending more money. And then there's another study through the e-commerce site Shopify, and they're now having more Pinterest users coming to the Shopify shopping cart to purchase items. And the people that come from Pinterest than from Twitter are 10% more likely to make that purchase. So perhaps it's the fact that they see it visually first, or other reasons that are just making people buy more from Pinterest than if they were to go to the original site from other social media sources. Retailers are taking notice. So this is a really cool ad from Gucci. This is for their Winter 2000 collection. And this ad is going to run in the Wall Street Journal Style magazine and New York Magazine's fashion blog, The Cut. So if you notice, they have a pin it button on the bottom. That is the first time a major retailer has done something like that, where they actually have a pin it button on the web banner ad. And if you click on the pin it button, it will give you the option to either pin the entire picture or just the shoes, which is pretty clever. So they are the first to do something like that. And then there are Pinterest contests. So Volvo is one of the pioneers in doing a Pinterest contest. And basically what they're asking people to do is go visit their board, where they have the new Volvo S60, repin their picture onto their board with a hashtag, and that way they're promoting their product and you win a prize. I'm not sure how they select the winner, but they're not the only ones doing contests. So far, there have been contests from Starbucks, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Taylor Loft, Samsung, and a number of small ones. Yeah.
So in this case, the user actually should go to their website first, then decide they want to join the Pinterest contest.
Well, if they have a Pinterest account, they just go to Volvo's Pinterest page.
Right, but how do they know this page? So they have contest. They know they have contest happening.
Oh, I'm sure Volvo's using other means to promote it. There's also, if you're already into Pinterest, there's a Pinterest news site that lists all the competitions that are going on, which is how I found out about this one. But they're advertising this through traditional means. So whether it's print or TV, they're driving people to Pinterest for the purposes of the contest. Now this is a cool thing that Zappos is doing, and it doesn't work very well yet. The algorithm isn't quite right, but if you go into the Zappos site, they've invented this app and algorithm. If I put in my name, it will pull up the pins that I've made and then recommend purchases based on that. So I had pinned this typography thing, which was like gold embossed. So then they have like this, oh, you must like gold, so you should buy these gold shoes. But some of them are a little wonky, like, I guess that's kind of punky, so I have a studded belt, and then I have a modern home, so it has some modern home items. And the reason why Zappos did this is because they want to tell people that they're more than about shoes. So they're going out of their way to show the other items they have. I don't know if they're competing with Amazon or if they want to be an Amazon one day, but it's kind of a clever way to do it, and no one else has done this yet.
This is on the
Amazon.
Zappos website.
This is on the Zappos
So
website.
you connect your Pinterest account to the Zappos website, and then they can make those suggestions.
Yeah, all I did was, if you look at the very top,
I
it
see
says
you're on
search for a
top, you're
Pinterest
right.
user.
Uh-huh.
So it's not just me, I can look at my friends. And actually, it also has a listing of the people I follow. So I can click on them, and based on their pins, it will give me other recommendations.
Gift suggestions and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that.
Well, yeah, that would, Zappos, you may not spend on yourself, but you gotta buy a Christmas present for someone. So
Absolutely. Yeah, so it takes a guess at what their taste would be based on the things that they've pinned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had a quick question. You said earlier that you searched the color red. I noticed up there it says search for a Pinterest user. Where would you go to search just a topic?
Oh, well, this is the Zappos
Zappos.
site.
Okay,
Yeah, and
gotcha.
on the Pinterest site, you can search anything.
Zappos is owned by Amazon, so if this starts working, you're probably going to see
I
the
didn't
same
realize
stuff.
that. Okay. Is that new?
So
Up
they're
there?
going to put the last year's.
Oh.
Another question, like gold embossed, diesel, were those all like hashtags of the various pictures? I mean, how does it pick
so
up the word embossed?
That top row are my pins, and I'm trying to remember.
Like, was it
I
the description of
probably-
the pin itself?
That's what I'm trying to remember. A lot of times, yeah, I'm sure I said something about gold here. So I'm not sure how it's picking it up. I should have researched that a little bit more. But yeah, that'd be good. I'll play with that. Let's see. And get back to you guys. So up until now, we've talked about large retail campaigns, which is not quite what you guys do. So what do you do if you're a small business or a blogger, and how do you use it? This is what's so good about Pinterest. You don't have to have a large presence on Pinterest. Like, it's not about your profile page and having a lot of followers. Sometimes the pins are more important than the actual page. So if you have high engagement, you don't necessarily have to have a custom Pinterest site for your brand. A lot of the brands already had high referral numbers before they launched their own accounts. So Pinterest can just generate a lot of traffic back to your site. As you already learned, if you pin an image of a product back to your site, it just goes back to your site, and that's just good SEO because you just generate more links back to it.
Question. I thought it was supposed to be bad form to put your own thing and pin it back to your stuff.
We'll get back to what we mean by putting your own stuff. What I mean is creating a profile page that's for your business, not necessarily the content being your stuff. So, like if you're a food blogger and having your name on there, it's not just about your recipes, it's about the lifestyle, and we'll touch on that. So I just talked about food blogging. So if you are a food blogger and you want to drive more traffic to your site, and you know you have hands down the best recipe for this cupcake because it looks absolutely delicious, it's important to have an equally yummy photo of the thing that you're posting, because just like cute alpacas, it's a possibility that the photo will be more viral, and that's what's going to be bringing back to people to your site and looking up the recipe because they want to see the context of that photo. And then if you get a subscriber to your blog as a result, well then that's how Pinterest has helped generate traffic and get you more followers. But in addition, just to your point, it's not about just putting your recipes on there. You kind of equally have to put other recipes that you love on there, because that's how you engage your followers in things that you like. So basically, having shareable content isn't a new concept. It's just adding a visual aspect to it. And this is one of my favorite success stories. So she is amazing. Alex Evian of ABE Styles is a local fashion blogger right here in Phoenix. She was already very active in maintaining her blog. I mean, she constantly blogs about the latest trends. She does a lot of photo shoots with local magazines and like engagement shoots, and her blog is very vocal about what she's doing and how she helps style those people. So she already had some of a following on there. But in April of 2011, she started using Pinterest for several reasons. I asked her to contribute a little bit of what she felt Pinterest helped her. And she said, actually in the blog that she started back in April, in the past week, Pinterest has revolutionized my business. This web tool has helped me capture fashion trends, visualize my personal style, and share my styling projects with the world. I've also connected with new faces in the blogging fashion world. So, in addition to advertising herself, she came up with a really creative way to use Pinterest. She started promoting that she could do virtual online styling. So for this particular set, she was doing an engagement shoot for a couple, and she was supposed to style them. The shoot was going to take place in Arizona, but they were located in Texas at the time. So instead of flying out to meet with them to style them, she did a shared pin board, so you can do group boards where you invite other people to collaborate on your board. So she started pinning with them not just the clothing that she thought they would wear. They wanted a Southern-inspired photo shoot. So she started putting down fashion suggestions and also like poses and location ideas. And then she shared this with the photographer. So not meeting with the people until an hour before the shoot, they had already determined what they were going to wear, down to the accessories and the details. And so when the photographer had to do their job, they came up with some amazing photos that were already predetermined. So the fact that Alex, and this is another one from that same photo shoot, and the photos were taken by Gina Miola. The fact that Alex used Pinterest in this way, so it wasn't really promoting herself, but she was still promoting how she does her business, and people took wind of that. And this was a really creative way to do it. So before long, she started getting noticed by blogs, a lot of fashion blogs. She was then invited by Juicy Couture to collaborate on one of their group blogs. And they were doing a fundraising blog to raise money. So they invited her and a couple other fashion stylists. And then most recently, she was contacted by Glamour magazine to collaborate with them on a Pinterest board that was sponsored by Woolite. It's kind of weird. So Woolite has a Pinterest board about wearable and washable clothes, and they asked Alex to contribute examples of those clothes, and that board is then featured in Glamour magazine. So, mind you, she started doing this in April. That's her stuff. In April, so in a little over a year, I think she started on her first day with 8 followers. She is close to hitting the 1 million mark on Pinterest, and she's ranked at the 111th top pinner to follow. And compare that to her Facebook. She has 338 followers on Facebook, but close to 1 million on Pinterest. And this has landed her jobs, and I think she was able to quit her day job and just concentrate on this full time. So I asked her to contribute some of her top tips, which are to pin frequently, keep your content fresh, and use the tool every day to interact with your followers and get new ones. Content is king. So we talked about earlier that 80% of the content on there is reposts. So you do have to concentrate on having that fresh content that other people will repin. And also not just posting about her stuff. So if you look at her boards, she does have behind the scenes of her photo shoots, but she also pins things of the latest trends and just things that she likes and things for her home. She had a baby board because she just had a baby, and thousands of people were repinning those things as well. So it's just bigger than you. This was actually a good design tip. Be mindful of the layout, because if you think about how Pinterest is laid out, the photos are more vertical. So you're going to see more of the photo if you have more vertical photos than horizontal. Take time to edit the board covers. So as I showed you some screenshots of the boards, you can edit that first big image that you see. So by default, it will just take the last pin that you have, but you can set it as a set graphic. And I'll show you that next time we have a screenshot. And the most important thing is continue to enjoy Pinterest. I wasn't trying to get more followers from it. She wasn't necessarily trying to get more followers from it. You just use it to catalog the things that you love, and people are going to appreciate that. And here are some additional tips that I've added. Promote your lifestyle over your product. What makes your brand tick? Focus on what inspires you to help the consumer, not necessarily what you're trying to sell. Also, use it as a focus group. You have a much easier way of seeing who is following you and what they're into, because if you have followers on Facebook, you can't really access their profiles and see what they're all about, but you can easily click on your followers' pin boards and just at a glance see what they're into. So it's almost like you have an insight into their world a lot more easily, and then you can kind of cater your brand page to make them like it more. Pin with content. So early on we talked about that you can pin directly from your computer, but if you do that and someone clicks through, it will only go to that image and there'll be no context. So you want to avoid that, and that's the same with Facebook. You can't pin directly off Facebook, and there's a hack around that. If you drag the image to the URL and have the direct URL, you can pin that. But again, by the time people click on that and they go back to the source, if all they get is a picture, well, that's kind of boring. So usually you want some kind of context or a blog that goes with it, or a description. Which brings us to the next thing of pinning videos and tutorials. Pinterest isn't limited to pictures. You can pin videos. And people love tutorials. I actually am clicking on Pinterest all the time and it leads to exercise steps or recipes or how to fix something in your home. And they'll just kind of catalog and keep track of those tips visually. But it's a good idea to have that kind of content. And collaborate with others.
Pin from YouTube?
You can pin from
Would
YouTube.
that, because you were saying not to from this, but from that, would that be a good? Okay.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with it. I'm like, if you have a board that is videos you like, and you're not trying to be more, I guess, marketing something with it, then that's fine. But I would say that if there's, are you talking about your video or someone else's video?
Like if I post it on YouTube first and then pin from there.
Oh yeah, because you're probably going to have a description on YouTube what it's all about. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha, okay.
And then add a pin button to your own site. Even though some people have the bookmarklet and that makes it easy, maybe they don't. So it'd be a good idea to have, just like you have the tweet this and like it on Facebook, add a pin this, because if you hit that button, it will then generate the page of the photos that they can select and pin. Oops. I went backwards. Did we talk about collaborating? Yeah. One thing we didn't touch on yet is that you can have price tags on Pinterest. If you put in a price in the description, it will add a little banner to your pin noting that it's something you can buy. This has been a little controversial because some people are wary of clicking on that because it does have that salesy feel to it. But at the same time, if you have a picture that doesn't have a price and it goes right to a shopping cart, well, then that feels a little deceitful too. So just be mindful of if you're going to use that tactic, if you do have something to sell, maybe it's a separate board that just has the sales items and that they don't get mixed in. There just should be a strategy in place overall because the response to those have been back and forth. And then just don't use Pinterest just to advertise. This was created with the user in mind. It wasn't built as a marketing tool, and perhaps because of the demographic and because a lot of people do use it for personal reasons, it just hasn't worked as well as a direct marketing tool. It's really more about the engagement and what inspires you and a more metaphorical way to describe who you are and what your brand is. Don't hurt your credibility with memes. There's some things going on Pinterest where you'll see some silly cats or other things that are just kind of funny, and typically that's not considered particularly classy. So save those for the email forwards and posting on Reddit instead. And very importantly, read the terms of service, especially if you are posting your own content. They've revised it a few times. There was a little bit of an uproar in the beginning as far as copyright and privacy issues, and I think they have fixed a lot of those issues, but they just changed the terms of service last week again because, for the first time, you are now allowed to have private boards, which is not something they had before. So just read through that just to be safe. And I have some examples of some of my favorite boards, and I think that they're doing it right. So Fit Sugar is a fitness blog, and they have 61,000 followers, and some of their popular boards are inspirational fitness quotes and healthy breakfast, all things running. And I'm not necessarily a fitness person, but I look at this and I'm like, yeah, I want to start jogging and cooking, and I never cook. So just looking at the pictures, I feel more inspired, and I would feel I'm more likely to respond to this than reading a fitness magazine, just because all of this looks wonderful. Lowe's is a great example. They have 2.9 million followers on Pinterest. And if you notice, you don't really see any of their products. They have helpful hints around the house, build it, and I'm sure within there, they're going to link something back about something that's going to promote them, or you're going to end up going to Lowe's to get those items. But they've been really good about being really general with their content, and again, it looks beautiful. Style Me Pretty is a wedding site, and given the demographic again with 79% women, it's not surprising that there are 4 million people following Style Me Pretty. So they are a blog. They promote other vendors and stuff, but I don't think they sell anything directly. But I know they have advertisements and stuff on their blog. So do-it-yourself projects, right? I guess there's a big trend now with first looks, which is the reaction the groom has when he sees the bride for the first time. So that's like a big thing. And we talked a lot about women, but there are some really good Pinterest boards that are by men and for men, like Daniel Bear Hunley. He's a blogger. He actually doesn't really have a business, but he's got 1.7 million followers, and he's got stuff like Men's Style and Spirits. A lot of people like following that. Mike D is a designer in Philadelphia, so it's very design oriented, but he's got rad shit, which is good, and design and typography. So he's got 3.6 million followers. That's pretty popular. Hansel Kim is a photographer, and he doesn't have any of his own photography on there. But with that, he's managed to have 1.3 million followers. He's kind of an anomaly because his website goes to Flickr, and I tried doing a search on him, and he actually has no website, and all his references are other social media sites, so he only exists in social media. I actually can't find anything about this guy. Yet he manages to have 1.3 million followers. There's another account I saw on Pinterest where it's just someone's name, and they have no website, and it's not even a full name. It's like Amy A, and she's got like 4 million followers. I don't know how she got all those followers, but she's got some amazing content on there and beautiful pins, and just people keep following her, and I guess she's not really promoting anything, but that's still kind of cool. If you don't have a visual brand, because we've talked a lot about design and clothing and stuff, that doesn't mean you can't have pins. I think General Electric is not something you think of when you think of Pinterest, but they have some really quirky boards, like Hey Girl. They have a whole series of pictures that start with Hey Girl. Then they have some other amazing boards on there that have nothing to do with General Electric, but they're just generally inspiring. And then they have one that's called Beautiful Kitchens, which of course all the kitchens have really good lighting. So it's kind of a thinking outside of the box way, so they're not promoting General Electric directly.
The kitchens don't have General Electric appliances in them?
I think it's like way down where they have an appliance board, but it's not among the first ones that you see. There are nonprofits using Pinterest. So this is the National Wildlife Federation. So they're taking total advantage of cute animals because people are going to want to repin cute animals. So this is their Animal Appreciation Days board. And this is one of my favorite, American Archives of American Art. So they have boards of all the art this is from the Smithsonian. And I absolutely love this series because I can always go back and get some inspiration as a designer. So if you do start to use Pinterest as a tool, there are some other analytic tools that could help you. Repinly is a good site. If you put in a search term, it helps you find the most popular pins and the popular pinners. Pinalytics and PinPuff is another similar tool. You get search results on the content and get some percentages on how viral it is. Reachly.com is an analytics dashboard. They're not free, but they provide analytics information if you really want to get into it. But if you decide that Pinterest is not right for your brand, there are still really cool ways to use it. I wanted to share this one with you. So there's a relationship therapist, and she has no real use to use Pinterest to promote her relationship therapy business. However, she uses it with her patients. She asks her clients to pick pictures of how they feel every day, and then when she meets with them, she'll ask them like, "Oh, how you feeling?" And by the time you get there, you may have forgotten what's going on in your week, and be like, "Fine." And she's like, "Well, let's look at your Pinterest board," and she'll find that she'll see trends in her patients of how they've been feeling throughout the week. She said this has been especially helpful with men, because men aren't always very articulate about how they feel. So men have really responded to pinning pictures depending on their mood that day, and she can kind of evaluate how her patient is doing. So she's not necessarily promoting her business, but she's using it for her business. And then this is a little closer to home. So Stephanie Liebold and I did the design for the Ignite 12 shirt, and it was kind of last minute, and we didn't have a lot of time to get together and brainstorm. So we collaborated on a group pin board, and we knew that the theme was going to be kind of a Mexican Day of the Dead thing. So we started pinning things that would inspire us towards our design process, and that way, not only were we getting inspiration for the design, but we knew we were on the same page, because I could see what she was pinning, she could see what I was pinning, and the result was I ended up doing the front and she did the back, and we never saw each other's work, but we were like right on par with the design. And it was just easy. We never got together for a meeting. I think we maybe just emailed back and forth, but we just relied on the Pinterest board to get the design together.
I have that shirt. It's good.
I'm sorry?
I have that shirt.
Oh, yay! So ultimately, Pinterest is about collecting what you love, and whether you use it for yourself or for your business, or collecting random pictures of collections. This is actually I found on Pinterest and Flickr, so we went back to Flickr. Use it for keeping track of the things that you love, and whether that defines your brand or defines you as a person, it's still really fun to use, and it's a very visual way to use things, and it's just a really fun way to catalog everything. So I think that's it. Thank you. Yes, all the sources that I use for my information.
Two things to say. Are you going to put up a pin board with pictures of each one of these slides?
I should.
And then the other thing was that Alex that you were talking about, and give a little story. It's interesting on when you show like the homepage of her site, she has all the little social media icons at the top. At the bottom, she only has Twitter and Facebook. She doesn't have the
If you go to her individual blogs, though, she does have the ability to pin it.
Well, she had it up at the top, and there was RSS feed, there was Twitter, there was Facebook, but at the bottom where it had contact, and it was just like a black and white thing. There was Twitter and Facebook, and there was a blank space where she could have, should have, would have put Pinterest in there. So if you look back at that slide, you'll see it.
I'll be sure to tell her that. And thank you for putting up with my nerves.
You did great.
You did a great job.
Are there any other questions?
You say that you can't upload original content directly from your computer, so how do you take something that you have on your computer and actually get it to Pinterest?
You can do that. It's just for marketing purposes, that's not necessarily the ideal way. So if you're using it for yourself, you can go ahead and just upload a picture. But if you're trying to, if you are a blogger or if you're trying to promote your business, I just don't recommend doing that because you want to give your followers context.
So you would load that up to your website first, and then from your website you post it to Pinterest.
Right, because it's all about driving the traffic back to your website.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Oh, and the pin marklet is for all the browsers.
Oh, it's not just for Chrome?
No, it's all of them.
Even better.
Yeah.
One of them was with, we're integrating with Facebook.
if you click on pin and you're on a Facebook page, it says you can't pin from Facebook. Yeah.
But a lot of my content right now is